it's Alex from Android Central with the Samsung Galaxy S4 and the HTC One, two big new Android phones. So we want to do a comparison test. I'm going to jump into it right now and let you know how these two phones measure up.
So here we are with the Samsung Galaxy S4 and the HTC One. First off, just in terms of materials, two very different devices here. The S4 is a traditional plasticky Samsung design, whereas you've got the very nice aluminium unibody on the HTC One. So removable battery door and of course removable storage and battery as well on the HTC One. Let's clip that back on. So the S4 is just a little bit thinner, I think. Very thin and very light design, of course, because of the materials used. In terms of the overall size, the HTC One is a little bit taller. Not a huge amount of difference between the overall size of the two, though. Let's just bring up the screen. We can see the S4 has a 5-inch 1080p screen, whereas we got a 4.7-inch on the HTC One. Samsung is also using a different display technology. It's full HD Super AMOLED on the Galaxy S4 versus the Super LCD 3 on the HTC One. So the difference is that basically you have better daylight performance on the HTC One versus slightly more vivid colors and darker blacks on the Galaxy S4. So on the whole, I think we prefer the LCD of the HTC One. It does look a lot better, although you do get more screen overall on the Galaxy S4. Very different software on these two as well. So if we head into the settings on both, we'll see we're running Android 4.1.2 on the HTC One versus 4.2.2 on the Galaxy S4. So what that means is you get a few extra features and tweaks on the S4. So we've got lock screen notifications there, lock screen widgets rather, and that's something you don't have on the HTC device. The UI itself is also very different design-wise. So we've got blink feed here on the HTC One. This is their new home screen dynamic, and of course, kind of different looking fonts and generally a kind of a more modern look on the HTC One. Galaxy S4 is very much a traditional Android design, and there are kind of some leftover elements from older versions. So for example, we've got tabs at the top here to switch to different areas of the settings app. Samsung's UI is probably a little bit more feature-rich. You do have unique features like Air View, so the phone can detect finger input at a distance, and that works in certain apps like the Gallery app. As you can see here, a little bit of slowdown when loading some apps. That's kind of indicative of what we've seen across the board on the S4. It's a very fast phone, but I think HTC has the lead in speed. So let's just hover over. We can see we're getting previews of these images as we're doing that. On the camera side, Samsung's gone for a traditional 13 megapixel camera, so upping the megapixel count, whereas HTC's gone for an ultra pixel sensor. That's larger pixels on the sensor itself, but a lower overall megapixel count. It's actually only 4 megapixels. Two very different ways of doing smartphone photography, and essentially the difference comes down to whether you want the best looking photos in daylight or low light. The Samsung device has the lead in daylight because, of course, higher megapixel count, more potential to capture detail in bright conditions. The HTC One wins out in low light, and it's quite clear to see in side-by-side comparisons that the larger pixels make a big difference when it comes to low light performance. So there we go, a very quick comparison of the Samsung Galaxy S4, the HTC One.
Check out AndroidCentral.com for even more on both devices.